You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words from Marcus Aurelius challenge a common misconception that still persists today: the idea that detachment means indifference. When we hear the word detachment, it's tempting to assume it means shutting down emotionally or retreating from the world around us. But what if detachment wasn't about turning away, but about seeing more clearly? In a fast-paced world filled with constant noise and emotional chaos, the Stoics believed that true detachment wasn't apathy, it was focus. It was the ability to separate what you can control from what you can't, so you can engage with life more fully, not less. In this video, we'll explore how Stoicism redefines detachment, showing us that it's not about indifference, but about finding clarity, purpose, and strength in the way we face the world. Detachment, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world or adopting a cold indifference to life. Instead, it's about cultivating emotional clarity and freedom from excessive attachment to things beyond your control. It's not about caring less, it's about caring wisely. Think about it like this. Imagine a ship's captain steering through turbulent waters. If the captain becomes emotionally overwhelmed by the storm, panicking or despairing, they lose their ability to act decisively and steer the ship to safety. On the other hand, if the captain remains calm and focused, they can navigate through the storm, making thoughtful choices that serve their ultimate goal of keeping the ship and everyone aboard safe. This is the essence of Stoic detachment. It's not a denial of the storm, nor is it uncaring. It's about staying grounded so you can respond effectively. But detachment is often misunderstood as indifference, as if it means you're supposed to stop caring entirely or distance yourself from everyone and everything. This couldn't be further from the Stoic perspective. Indifference, in the sense of apathy or lack of concern, suggests passivity, a refusal to engage with life's challenges. Stoicism, however, is far from passive. It's an active philosophy that encourages living with virtue, purpose, and a commitment to meaningful action. The key difference lies in how we approach situations and relationships. Detachment doesn't ask you to stop loving or striving. It asks you to love and strive without letting those things define your inner stability. Let's take a concrete example. Imagine you're deeply invested in a project at work. You've poured your time and energy into it, and you're hopeful for a positive outcome. But then, due to reasons outside your control, budget cuts, shifting priorities, or even someone else's decision, the project is shelved. If you're overly attached to the outcome, this might feel like a personal failure. You might blame yourself, grow resentful, or even lose motivation for future projects. However, approaching the situation with Stoic detachment means recognizing that while your effort and dedication were within your control, the final decision wasn't. By letting go of the need to control the result, you free yourself to act with resilience. You're able to move forward, channeling your energy into the next meaningful pursuit instead of being consumed by frustration or regret. At its core, Stoic detachment is about maintaining your sense of self and purpose in the face of life's ups and downs. It's not about withdrawing from your emotions, but about mastering them. The Stoics believed that emotions, when left unchecked, could cloud judgment and lead to irrational actions. By practicing detachment, you create space to assess situations clearly, aligning your actions with your values rather than being swept away by fleeting feelings. This allows you to act with virtue, not out of fear, anger, or desperation, but with calm, deliberate intention. So, the next time you hear someone equate detachment with indifference, ask yourself, what's more powerful, to shut yourself away from life pretending not to care, or to face life head-on with a steady mind and an open heart, unshaken by the things you cannot change? For the Stoics, the answer is clear. Detachment is not about turning your back on the world. It's about showing up for it in the truest, most meaningful way possible. How often do strong emotions cloud your judgment? Think about those moments when anger, fear, or frustration takes over, pushing you to say or do something you later regret. It happens to all of us. A harsh email sent in the heat of the moment, a decision made in panic, or an argument spiraling out of control. These emotional reactions feel powerful, even consuming, but the Stoics would argue that they stem not from the events themselves, but from how we perceive and interpret those events. This is where the role of reason comes in, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and the key to practicing detachment while remaining fully engaged with the world. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." At the heart of this insight is the understanding that we cannot control external events, what others say or do, the outcomes of our efforts, or the unexpected twists of life. What we can control, however, is our interpretation of these events and how we choose to respond. This ability to apply reason is what allows us to detach from automatic, unhealthy emotional reactions without becoming indifferent to the situation at hand. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important meeting. It's easy to feel frustrated, perhaps even angry, as you watch the minutes tick by, knowing you might arrive late. Your emotions might tell you, "This is terrible, my whole day is ruined." But what if you paused and asked yourself, what do I actually control in this situation? You can't control the traffic or the time it takes to clear. Those are external factors beyond your influence. What you can control is your mindset and response. By reasoning through the situation, you might realize that getting upset will only add stress and make things worse. Instead, you could use the time to prepare mentally for the meeting, listen to something uplifting, or simply accept the delay with calm resolve. Reason transforms the experience, detaching you from the knee-jerk emotional reaction, while still allowing you to engage with the situation in a constructive way. This practice of using reason doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring emotions. The Stoics weren't advocating for emotional numbness. Instead, they saw reason as a tool to help us examine our emotions, challenge unhelpful beliefs, and respond thoughtfully. Emotions like anger or fear often arise because we perceive a threat, whether to our ego, our expectations, or our desires. Reason allows us to step back and ask, is this threat real? Is my reaction proportional to the situation? By doing so, we can prevent fleeting emotions from dictating our actions. Think about how often overreaction causes unnecessary harm in modern life. Maybe you've seen someone lash out on social media over a small disagreement, only to face regret or backlash later. Or perhaps you've had a disagreement with a friend or loved one that escalated, not because of the actual issue, but because emotions flared and clouded the conversation. In these moments, detachment through reason doesn't mean stepping away or becoming indifferent to the people and situations we care about. It simply means creating enough space to think clearly, to act in alignment with our values, and to avoid being ruled by fleeting, reactive feelings. For the Stoics, practicing reason is a way to stay connected to what truly matters. By recognizing what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and choices, we can engage with the world in a way that is both calm and intentional. This doesn't mean life will always go as we hope. Traffic jams will still happen, people will still disappoint us, challenges will still arise. But by anchoring ourselves in reason, we can face these moments with clarity and resilience, unshaken by the chaos around us. Instead of being at the mercy of emotions, we gain the freedom to respond with wisdom, strength, and purpose. Imagine you're applying for a job you really want, one that feels like the perfect fit. You go through the interview process, pouring your energy into preparing and showing your best self, only to receive an email that says, we've decided to move forward with another candidate. In that moment, it's natural to feel disappointed, maybe even hurt. You might start second-guessing everything. Was I not good enough? Did I say the wrong thing? Why didn't they see my potential? But how you choose to handle that rejection can make all the difference. This is where the Stoic concept of emotional responsibility comes in. Stoic detachment doesn't mean ignoring those feelings of disappointment or burying them to pretend they don't exist. It's not about saying, "I don't care," when deep down you do. Instead, detachment invites you to take responsibility for your emotions, to feel them fully without letting them take over or control your actions. Seneca once said, "What progress have I made? I am beginning to be my own friend." And that's what emotional responsibility is about, being your own friend by understanding and guiding your emotions rather than being a victim of them. When you receive bad news like that rejection email, your initial feelings are automatic. You might feel hurt, frustrated, or even embarrassed, but what happens next is up to you. You could let those emotions spiral, turning disappointment into self-doubt or resentment. Or you could pause, acknowledge how you're feeling, and take ownership of your response. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they aren't real. In fact, denying or pushing away emotions often makes them stronger, bubbling just beneath the surface until they spill over in unhelpful ways. Instead, emotional responsibility allows you to face those feelings with honesty and balance. You might say to yourself, "I feel disappointed because I cared about this opportunity. That's okay, but I'm not going to let this define my worth or stop me from moving forward." This approach, acknowledging and then choosing how to respond, helps you master your emotions rather than being mastered by them. In Stoicism, this distinction is crucial. The goal isn't emotional avoidance, it's emotional mastery. When you suppress your emotions, you aren't truly dealing with them. You're simply bottling them up where they might show up later in unexpected ways, whether in an outburst, stress, or even physical tension. Detachment, however, teaches you to engage with your emotions constructively. It's about creating space between the event and your reaction, so you can respond thoughtfully instead of reflexively. Another way to think about this is through the metaphor of a garden. Picture your mind as a garden filled with emotions. Emotional suppression would be like ignoring the weeds, hoping they'll go away on their own, or worse, pushing them down into the soil where they can grow unseen. Emotional responsibility, on the other hand, is about tending to the garden. You notice the weeds, the emotions that don't serve you, and you take the time to remove them carefully, making space for the plants you want to nurture. This doesn't mean the weeds won't ever reappear, but when they do, you'll be ready to handle them with care and intention. Seneca also spoke of the power that comes from inner control, writing, "You have power over your mind, realize this, and you will find strength." Emotional responsibility is a form of this inner power. It's an acknowledgement that while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control how you interpret and respond to it. This doesn't mean pretending that rejection or failure doesn't hurt. It means choosing what to do with that pain. Do you let it consume you, or do you use it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to move forward with resilience? So when you face moments of disappointment, rejection, or failure, remember that Stoic detachment isn't asking you to suppress your emotions or pretend to be unaffected. Instead, it's asking you to step into a place of responsibility where you can feel what you feel without being controlled by it. It's about being honest with yourself while remembering that you have the strength to choose your response. This practice doesn't make you unemotional. It makes you emotionally resilient, capable of weathering life's setbacks with grace and purpose. And isn't that a kind of freedom we all want? Detachment, as the Stoics understood it, isn't about pulling away from life. It's about engaging more fully, but in the right way. It's about casting aside distractions, overcoming emotional whims, and focusing on what truly matters, living a life grounded in virtue. For the Stoics, living virtuously meant acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These were their guiding principles, the moral compass that directed every decision and action. And detachment was what enabled them to stay on course, no matter how turbulent life became. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This simple yet profound reminder reflects the Stoic belief that virtue is the highest good. External things, success, failure, praise, or criticism are secondary. They don't define who you are. What truly matters is whether your actions align with your values, and detachment is the practice of freeing yourself from the noise of the external world so you can focus on living in accordance with those values. Imagine someone volunteering at a local shelter, dedicating their time to helping people in need. Now, let's say they're organizing a fundraiser, pouring hours into planning and promotion. The day of the event arrives, and despite their best efforts, the turnout is lower than expected. A person who's overly attached to the outcome might feel deeply discouraged, even defeated. They might question whether their hard work was worth it or whether they should bother trying again. But a Stoic practicing detachment would approach the situation differently. They'd recognize that their effort, the time, care, and intention they brought to the event was within their control. The turnout, however, was not. Instead of being consumed by frustration or disappointment, they'd focus on the virtue behind their actions, compassion for others, and a commitment to doing good. By detaching from the result, they remain open to trying again, refining their approach, and continuing to act with purpose. This kind of detachment doesn't mean apathy or half-hearted effort. On the contrary, it frees us to give our best to every moment without being weighed down by what's outside our control. And when we act this way, with clarity and virtue, we're able to be fully present in our actions. Think of a firefighter rushing into a burning building to save someone. In that moment, their focus isn't on what others might think of their bravery or on whether their actions will be publicly praised later. They aren't paralyzed by fear of failure. Their focus is unwaveringly on the task at hand, saving lives. That clarity, that purposeful action, is what detachment makes possible. It's not about shutting off emotions or distancing yourself from others. It's about prioritizing what truly matters in the moment and acting in alignment with your values. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this idea of engaging with the world through virtue. He urged himself to focus on what was in his power and to let go of the things that weren't. In Meditations he wrote, "Do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others when you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility. Why lose time wondering what so and so thinks of you or why this person did that? These distractions keep you from the work you're here to do." For the Stoics, living virtuously and acting with purpose meant paying attention to how you spend your time and energy. Are you letting worries about external outcomes or the opinions of others dictate your actions? Or are you staying rooted in what you know is right, regardless of what the world throws at you? By practicing detachment, we create space to make those choices more consciously. We stop reacting and start responding. We stop chasing outcomes or approval and start focusing on the present moment, on what we can do right here, right now to live virtuously. And when we embrace this mindset, we engage with the world not out of fear, pride, or a need for recognition, but from a place of strength, compassion, and courage. Detachment isn't about stepping back from life. It's about stepping into it fully awake and ready to act with purpose, and that's where true freedom lies. Picture this: you're standing in front of a mirror, choosing your outfit for an important event. Instead of thinking about what you feel most comfortable or confident in, your mind starts racing with questions. What will they think if I wear this? Will they judge me? Will they even notice? You pick something you think others will approve of, but it doesn't really feel like you asterisk. Throughout the event, you find yourself scanning the room, searching for signs of approval, a smile, a compliment, a glance of acknowledgement. And when it doesn't come, you leave feeling deflated, questioning your worth. This scenario might sound simple, even trivial, but it illustrates a deeper struggle that so many of us face. We often shape our actions, choices, and even identities around what we think others expect of us. We crave validation, and when it doesn't come, it leaves us feeling unfulfilled and disconnected from our true selves. But what if you could free yourself from that endless cycle? What if you could stop measuring your worth by someone else's opinions? This is where detachment becomes transformative. The Stoics had a lot to say about freeing ourselves from the grip of external validation. Epictetus, for example, famously said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." At first, this might seem harsh, even counterintuitive. Who wants to be thought foolish, but his point goes much deeper. Epictetus is asking us to challenge our need for approval, to stop letting others' judgments dictate our choices or compromise our integrity. When you act solely to gain others' approval, you hand over your power. You become, in his words, a slave to their opinions, and yet those opinions are outside your control. People will think what they think, based on their own biases, moods, or perspectives, none of which reflect your true value. Think about how much energy people pour into curating their image, especially in today's world of social media. Carefully chosen photos, captions crafted to sound just right, sharing moments designed to impress or gain likes. But how often does this performance leave people feeling hollow, as if they're chasing something they can never quite catch? Stoic detachment offers a way out. It reminds us that living authentically means acting in alignment with our values, not someone else's expectations. When we detach from the need for external validation, we reclaim our power. We learn to trust ourselves, to act with integrity, and to be at peace with how others respond or don't. Imagine a writer working on their first book. They pour their heart and soul into the process, aiming to share something meaningful. But as they approach the release date, their focus shifts. Instead of thinking about the value of their work or the joy of creating, they become consumed by questions like, will people like it? What if it gets bad reviews? What if no one reads it? If this writer ties their sense of fulfillment to how others react, they lose the intrinsic joy of creation. They risk being discouraged, even if they've written something deeply personal and valuable. But if they approach the situation with detachment, they can separate their effort, the part fully within their control, from the reception, which isn't. Detachment allows them to focus on what matters most, the courage it took to write the book, the growth they experienced, and the authenticity of their work. In modern society, where influence and approval seem to reign supreme, maintaining this sense of inner freedom is an act of resilience. Detachment doesn't mean you suddenly stop caring about the opinions of others altogether. It's natural and even healthy to value feedback or to want positive relationships. The key is not letting those things define your self-worth. When you live authentically, when your actions align with your values, not someone else's expectations, you stop seeking approval at the expense of your integrity. And that is a kind of freedom that no one can take from you. So, the next time you find yourself worrying about how someone might perceive you, take a step back and ask, am I acting in a way that feels true to me? Or am I looking for validation that I don't truly need? By letting go of the need for external validation, you create space to live with authenticity, purpose, and peace. You stop being a slave to others' judgments and reclaim the freedom to simply be yourself. As Epictetus would remind us, that's where true strength lies. Take a moment and think about how much of your mental energy is spent worrying about things you can't control. How often do you replay a conversation in your head, agonizing over how someone might have interpreted your words, or stress about the outcome of a situation that's already out of your hands? If we're honest, most of us spend far too much time tangled in these worries, letting our minds spiral into anxieties about what might happen or regrets over what has already passed. But where does all this worrying lead? It certainly doesn't change the outcome, nor does it give us peace. In fact, it does the opposite. It traps us in a state of unease, constantly chasing solutions to problems that might not even be ours to solve. The Stoics recognized this, and their philosophy offers a powerful antidote: detachment. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, wrote extensively about tranquility, or what he called a settled mind. In his essay on tranquility of mind, he explores how much unnecessary suffering we bring onto ourselves by chasing after desires or becoming fixated on fears. He argued that peace doesn't come from controlling the external world, it comes from mastering our internal state. According to Seneca, tranquility isn't about escaping life's challenges, but about freeing ourselves from the constant tug of war between unrealistic expectations, unrestrained desires, and irrational anxieties. And the way to do this is through detachment. Let's consider a modern comparison. We live in a world of constant stimulation. Social media, news alerts, advertisements, and endless to-do lists pull our attention in 100 different directions. This overstimulation keeps us in a heightened state of stress, always feeling the need to react, respond, or achieve. Think about how many times you've scrolled through your phone, not because you needed to, but because you felt restless. Or how often you've been bombarded by notifications or updates that only added to your anxiety. It's no wonder so many of us feel disconnected and overwhelmed. Stoic detachment helps us step off that endless treadmill. The philosophy reminds us to distinguish between what's within our power and what isn't. Epictetus described this as the cornerstone of Stoic thought. There are things which are within our power, and there are things which are beyond our power. When we internalize this simple truth, we stop giving our energy to things we can't control. Instead, we focus on what we can influence: our actions, our mindset, and the effort we put into what truly matters. This shift is liberating because it helps us let go of the unnecessary mental clutter that steals our peace. For example, imagine you're waiting to hear back about a job interview. You've done everything you can, prepared thoroughly, answered every question to the best of your ability, but now it's out of your hands. Without detachment, you might spend days obsessively checking your email, feeling your stomach drop with every hour that passes without a response. But what would that accomplish? Would it bring the decision any faster? Would it change the outcome? The answer is no. What it will do, however, is rob you of your energy and peace of mind. Stoic detachment invites you to take a different approach. It asks you to acknowledge the effort you've already given and then release the outcome, trusting that you've done your part. By focusing on what's within your control, your preparation, your attitude, and how you move forward, you free yourself from the unnecessary weight of anxiety. In Seneca's view, the real source of inner peace is simplicity, not in the sense of having less, but in the sense of desiring less. When we detach from the endless pursuit of external validation, wealth, or control over every aspect of our lives, we reduce the chaos within. Detachment doesn't mean we stop caring or striving. It means we stop overburdening ourselves with desires and expectations that lead to disappointment and frustration. It gives us the clarity to see what truly matters and the courage to let go of what doesn't. In a chaotic, overstimulated world, embracing Stoic detachment is a way to reclaim our inner calm. It helps us move through life not with indifference, but with intention, choosing to focus on what adds peace, meaning, and purpose to our days. With detachment, we stop being pulled in every direction by external forces and instead find the stillness to navigate life's challenges with grace and clarity. As Seneca reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Detachment isn't about losing, it's about gaining something far more valuable: peace. Imagine waking up one morning to find that everything you hold dear is gone. Your favorite possessions, your job, or even the people closest to you, suddenly, they're no longer there. At first, it might sound harsh, even unsettling, to picture such a scenario, but the Stoics believed this practice, called negative visualization, was one of the most powerful tools for cultivating a sense of gratitude, resilience, and most importantly, detachment. Negative visualization is the deliberate act of imagining loss or adversity, not to dwell in misery, but to prepare the mind for life's uncertainties and to appreciate the present moment more deeply. By confronting the possibility of losing what we value, we become more aware of just how precious those things are. Far from fostering indifference, this exercise actually strengthens our connection to what matters most, while helping us let go of the fear of inevitable change. Let's consider how this practice works in a practical sense. You might take a quiet moment at the start of your day to reflect on your most treasured relationships. Picture what your life would feel like without certain people who bring you joy, their laughter, their presence, the small ways they brighten your days. This isn't meant to be a morbid exercise, but a reminder of how fortunate you are to have them in your life right now. By imagining their absence, you create space to fully appreciate their presence. Instead of taking them for granted, you might find yourself more inclined to express gratitude, to listen more attentively, or to make the most of the moments you share. The same applies to material possessions. Think about the things you use daily: your phone, your car, your favorite pair of shoes. Now take a moment to imagine what it would be like if one of those things were suddenly gone. Are you frustrated at the thought of losing it, or can you see it as a reminder that these items, while valuable, are ultimately temporary? By picturing their impermanence, you remind yourself that your happiness doesn't have to depend on external things. You can enjoy and care for what you have without becoming overly attached to it. The Stoics practiced negative visualization not to dwell in negativity, but to cultivate a healthy perspective. When you consistently remind yourself that everything in life is fleeting, you're less likely to be caught off guard when change or loss occurs. If you're already mentally prepared for setbacks, you can face them with greater calm and resilience. This mindset doesn't make you emotionally numb, it makes you emotionally stronger. It's not about avoiding pain, but about learning how to handle it when it inevitably arises. For example, let's say you're a parent who treasures every moment with your child. Negative visualization might lead you to imagine a scenario where they've grown up and moved away, pursuing their own life. While this thought may tug at your heart, it also serves as an important reminder: the time you have with them now is precious. Instead of being preoccupied with minor frustrations or daily distractions, you might find yourself more present, savoring every laugh, hug, or conversation. And when the day comes that they do leave the nest, you'll be better prepared to embrace the change because you've already acknowledged its possibility. What makes negative visualization so transformative is that it shifts our mindset from fear to acceptance and from complacency to gratitude. When we ignore the impermanence of life, we risk taking things for granted or being blindsided by loss. But when we approach life with the awareness that nothing is guaranteed, we begin to cherish what we have and strengthen our ability to cope with challenges. So why not give it a try? Take a few moments today to reflect on what you value most. Imagine a world where those things are no longer part of your life, not to push yourself into sadness, but to spark a deeper sense of gratitude and awareness. This practice doesn't distance you from life. It brings you closer to it, helping you appreciate every moment while preparing your mind for the reality of change. In this way, negative visualization becomes a powerful tool, not for fostering fear, but for nurturing strength, resilience, and joy. Stoic detachment does not mean doing things halfway or being indifferent to your efforts. In fact, it's the opposite. The Stoics believed in fully committing to your actions, giving your best effort, and aligning everything you do with your values. However, they urged us to detach from the outcomes, the results that lie outside of our control. This idea might sound counterintuitive at first. How can you care deeply about what you're doing while also letting go of the result? But this balance is exactly what the Stoics mastered, and it's the key to living with both peace and purpose. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Do not be perturbed, for all things are according to the nature of the universal." Perform your task with a resolute and tranquil mind. What he's saying is that your responsibility lies in the effort, not in the outcome. You are here to act with intention and integrity, to focus on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your character. The results, however, are often influenced by external factors far beyond your influence. To hinge your happiness or sense of worth on the outcome is to hand over your inner peace to forces you can't command. But when you invest fully in the process and release the need to control the result, you gain freedom and resilience. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine an athlete training for a competition. They wake up early every day, follow a rigorous schedule, and give their absolute best in practice. On the day of the event, they step onto the field or court fully prepared, focused, and ready to perform at their highest level. But as the competition unfolds, things don't go as planned. Maybe the conditions are tougher than expected, or an opponent outperforms them on that particular day. If this athlete is solely attached to the outcome, the score or the win, they might leave feeling defeated, doubting their abilities, or worse, questioning whether all their effort was worth it. But if they approach the competition with stoic detachment, their mindset shifts entirely. Instead of fixating on the final scoreboard, they reflect on the process. Did I train as hard as I could? Did I give my all in this moment? Did I act in alignment with my values of discipline and perseverance? If the answers to those questions are yes, then they have succeeded regardless of the result. They walk away with their inner peace intact, ready to learn from the experience and improve for the next challenge. This principle isn't just for athletes, it applies to every area of life. Whether you're working on a project, nurturing a relationship, pursuing a career goal, or even raising a child, the Stoic approach reminds you to focus on what you can do here and now with integrity and purpose. Let's say you're preparing for an important presentation at work. You spend hours researching, crafting your slides, and rehearsing. When the day comes, you deliver your presentation with confidence. But the decision makers choose not to move forward with your proposal. Does that mean you failed? Not if you gave your best effort. The outcome, their decision, was never fully within your control. What you controlled was the preparation, the clarity of your message, and the way you carried yourself. That's where your success lies. By detaching from outcomes, you build resilience. You free yourself from the anxiety of needing everything to go perfectly, and you become less vulnerable to disappointment when things don't unfold as you hoped. This doesn't mean you stop setting goals or striving for excellence. It means that your sense of fulfillment comes from living intentionally and giving your best, not from chasing external results that might or might not align with your expectations. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to act according to his duty without being consumed by the outcome. For the Stoics, this wasn't just about personal peace, it was about staying true to their values and principles no matter what. This approach teaches us that life is unpredictable. Success, failure, praise, or blame, all of these are fleeting. What endures is your character, your effort, and the integrity with which you approach every moment. So ask yourself, are you pouring your energy into things you can control, like your actions and intentions, or are you overly invested in external results, leaving your peace vulnerable to forces outside your power? By committing fully to your effort while letting go of the outcome, you gain not only resilience but also the freedom to live in alignment with your highest values. This is the Stoic way, a life of focus, purpose, and unwavering inner strength. When we think of detachment in relationships, it's easy to assume it means becoming distant or emotionally unavailable, but Stoicism offers a very different perspective. Detachment in the Stoic sense isn't about withholding love or connection, it's about loving deeply and wisely. It's about caring for others in a way that's rooted in strength rather than in fear or unhealthy dependence. Epictetus put it plainly, "Never say about anything, 'I have lost it,' but instead, 'I have given it back.'" While this might sound cold at first, it's actually a profound reminder of two essential truths: that everything in life is transient, and that deep love is possible only when we embrace this impermanence. In relationships, practicing Stoic detachment allows us to be fully present and supportive without losing ourselves in the process. It encourages us to love and care for others, not out of need or attachment to specific outcomes, but because acting lovingly is virtuous and meaningful in itself. When we cling too tightly to a partner, friend, or family member trying to control their actions, solve all their problems, or make their happiness a condition of our own, we risk setting both of us up for frustration, resentment, or even heartbreak. Instead, Stoic detachment asks us to recognize that while we can offer care, guidance, and support, we ultimately cannot control another person's choices, emotions, or experiences. Let's imagine a parent and their adult child. The parent might want to protect their child from every difficulty in life, stepping in to shield them from mistakes or fixing things when they go wrong. While this comes from a place of deep love, it can lead to overreach and even a loss of boundaries. The parent starts to define their own happiness by their child's success or lack thereof, entangling their sense of self-worth in outcomes they can't control. However, a Stoic approach to this relationship would acknowledge the natural desire to protect and guide, but also the reality that the child must ultimately navigate their own path. The parent would support them out of love, not control or dependency, recognizing that their role is to guide, not dictate the course of their child's life. This approach not only preserves the parent's peace of mind, but also empowers the child to grow and learn. Compassionate detachment doesn't mean stepping away from others or becoming indifferent to their struggles. On the contrary, it creates the emotional clarity needed to love and support others more fully. When we aren't trying to control outcomes or attach our sense of self-worth to someone else's journey, we can show up with more patience, understanding, and generosity. In other words, detachment frees us to be truly present. We can listen without judgment, offer help without expectation, and care deeply without being consumed by fear of loss or disappointment. And this applies to all kinds of relationships. In a friendship, for instance, detachment allows you to be a source of encouragement and kindness without overstepping when your friend is going through something difficult. Instead of trying to fix their situation or carry their emotional burden as your own, you can be a steady, supportive presence, knowing that your role isn't to solve their problems but to love them through it. Epictetus also reminded us of the impermanence of human connections, which can be a challenging idea but ultimately liberating when understood deeply. He encouraged us to remember that every relationship we have in life is temporary. whether due to changes in circumstances or the inevitability of loss. This isn't meant to diminish the value of those connections, but to remind us to cherish them fully while they last, rather than clinging out of fear or trying to make something permanent that can't be. Stoics encourage us to embrace the beauty of the time we do have with the people we love. When you're no longer holding on out of fear, you're able to love more freely, appreciating what you have without being paralyzed by the thought of losing it. Ultimately, compassionate detachment teaches us this. Love is at its most profound and meaningful when it comes from a place of strength, not need. It empowers us to support others while respecting their own journeys, to care deeply while maintaining our own inner peace, and to embrace relationships fully without clinging to the illusion of control or permanence. By practicing detachment in this way, we can bring more love, kindness, and stability into our relationships, qualities that make them not only healthier but truly fulfilling. Imagine a woman named Elena who suddenly finds herself at a crossroads. After dedicating years to building her small business, an economic downturn forces her to close its doors. The loss feels overwhelming. This wasn't just her career, it was her passion, her livelihood, and a dream she poured everything into. Many people in similar circumstances might fall into despair, spiraling under the weight of disappointment, anger, and self-doubt. But Elena, unknowingly embracing a Stoic mindset, chooses a different path. She takes time to grieve the loss, but instead of allowing it to define her, she begins asking herself, what can I do? What is still within my control? By focusing on what remains possible rather than what's already lost, she channels her energy into rebuilding. Elena uses the skills she developed from her business, her creativity, her leadership, her resilience, to pivot into a new field. She remains grounded in purpose, proving that while the setback was painful, it wasn't the end of her story. This is the kind of strength that Stoic detachment offers. Detachment doesn't mean turning away from hardship or ignoring difficulties. It means facing them with clarity, courage, and resilience. The Stoics believed that while life is full of unpredictable challenges, our ability to endure, adapt, and grow depends on how we choose to respond. Detachment is the tool that allows us to navigate adversity without losing our sense of self or purpose. It's not about avoiding pain, but about equipping ourselves to persevere through it. When we hear the term detachment, it's easy to conflate it with apathy, as if caring less about outcomes or situations means giving up or disengaging. But this couldn't be further from the Stoic perspective. For the Stoics, detachment is not about indifference, it's about empowerment. It's the foundation of resilience, enabling us to face even the most difficult moments with steadfast determination. Detachment allows us to strip away the emotional fog that hardship can create, so we can see the situation for what it truly is, a challenge to overcome, not a permanent defeat. Take the Roman slave-turned-philosopher Epictetus, who embodied this principle in his own life. Born into circumstances entirely outside his control and enduring unimaginable hardship, Epictetus focused not on lamenting his situation but on mastering his mind. He reminded himself constantly that while his physical freedom might be taken, his ability to think, reason, and choose his response could never be stolen. This mindset didn't make him passive, it made him unshakably resilient. Detachment allowed him to see his circumstances clearly without being overwhelmed by emotional despair, giving him the strength to rise above even the harshest adversity. This kind of detachment also encourages proactive problem solving in difficult situations. When faced with setbacks, too much emotional attachment can leave us stuck, clinging to what's been lost or fearing what's ahead. Detachment, however, clears the way for decisive action. By focusing on what can be done, we regain our agency and move forward with purpose. For instance, imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. An overly emotional response might lead to paralysis, self-pity, or blame, but Stoic detachment helps them recognize that while the job itself is gone, their skills, experience, and ability to act remain. This perspective empowers them to update their resume, seek new opportunities, or even explore a different career path. Detachment also protects us from needless suffering. One of the reasons hardships feel so overwhelming is that we often make them bigger in our minds than they really are. We catastrophize, projecting fears of what if and what next onto situations we can't yet predict. A detached perspective brings us back to the present moment, reminding us to focus on what's real and actionable rather than what's imagined or hypothetical. By staying grounded, we conserve our energy for what truly matters, navigating the challenge in front of us. The beauty of Stoic detachment is that it doesn't require you to suppress emotions or pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Instead, it invites you to feel what you feel, but without letting those emotions control you. It's about acknowledging pain, disappointment, or frustration while staying anchored in your values and your ability to act. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about rising each time you do. And detachment is the tool that helps us get back on our feet, stronger and more determined than before. So the next time you face hardship, remember this: detachment isn't a retreat from life. It's a way of stepping into life with clarity, purpose, and the strength to move forward. Like Elena and Epictetus, you have the ability to endure and adapt, not by denying life's challenges, but by meeting them with a grounded, empowered perspective. And through that resilience, you can continue to live fully, no matter what life throws your way. So, as we wrap up, let's return to the heart of what Stoic detachment truly means. It's not about shutting yourself off from life, nor is it about apathy or indifference. Instead, it's an empowering principle that allows us to fully engage with the world while remaining steady, clear, and grounded. Detachment is what gives us the ability to care deeply without becoming consumed, to strive for goals without being crushed by setbacks, and to love others while respecting their freedom and our own. It is an active practice requiring daily effort to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. The distinction between detachment and indifference is crucial. Indifference suggests a lack of care or involvement, but Stoic detachment is just the opposite. It's about caring with intention, about putting your energy into the things that matter, while freeing yourself from the unnecessary weight of anxiety, fear, or external validation. It's about finding strength not in controlling the world around you, but in mastering your own mind and actions. When you detach from outcomes, you don't stop striving, you simply stop tying your worth to the result. When you detach from fears of loss, you don't stop loving, you love more fully, appreciating the present without clinging to it. So how can you practice detachment in your daily life? Start small. The next time you find yourself worrying about something outside your control, whether it's someone's opinion, a delay in plans, or even the weather, pause and ask yourself, what can I control here? Redirect your energy toward the actions and attitudes that are within your influence. Or the next time you feel overly attached to an outcome, remind yourself of the effort you've already put in and allow yourself to let go of the result. Reflect on how your focus shifts when you live in the present, embracing what you have now rather than fearing what may change tomorrow. As Marcus Aurelius so powerfully said, be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it. This is what Stoic detachment looks like in practice, a steadfastness that allows us to weather life's storms without losing ourselves. It's not that the waves don't hit or that challenges don't arise. It's that we remain grounded, unshaken by what we cannot control, and firmly rooted in our values. So take a moment to reflect, how could practicing detachment bring more clarity, peace, and purpose to your life? How could it help you respond to challenges with strength, love with greater freedom, or pursue your goals with clearer focus? Detachment isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with life fully, authentically, and courageously. If these ideas resonate with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you plan to practice detachment in your own life? Share your perspective in the comments, and if you'd like to dive deeper into Stoic philosophy, consider subscribing for more content just like this. Together, we can explore how these timeless principles can guide us toward a more thoughtful and fulfilling life. Thank you for watching, and remember, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Focus on that, and inner peace will follow.